Have you ever wondered why most people, despite having dreams, talent, and even opportunities, still end up failing? Think about it. Every year, millions of people set goals. They say, "This is my year. I will change my life. I will get fit. I will start my business. I will finally succeed." Yet, after a few months, most of them quietly give up. Their goals are abandoned, their dreams are shelved, and their energy disappears. Why? The truth is, failure doesn't happen overnight. People don't wake up one morning and suddenly lose everything. Failure is a slow process, a silent habit. It begins with small excuses, tiny moments of procrastination, and little lies we tell ourselves. We say, "I'll do it tomorrow." We say, "I'm too tired today." We say, "Maybe later, when the time is right." But that perfect time never comes. The harsh reality is this: most people fail because they are not truly committed. They like the idea of success, but they are not willing to pay the price. They want the reward, but they don't want the struggle. They want to shine, but they don't want to sweat. And life doesn't work that way. Success demands sacrifice. Success requires discipline. Without it, no dream can survive. Another hidden reason people fail is fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of criticism. Fear of looking foolish. How many brilliant ideas have died in silence because someone was too afraid to share them? How many talents are wasted because people worry more about what others will say than about what they could achieve? Fear chains us, and unless we break those chains, we stay stuck in the same place year after year. And here is the biggest trap: comfort. Comfort is seductive. Comfort tells you, stay where you are. Don't risk it. Don't try too hard. Don't change. It feels safe, but it is poison. Comfort zones kill more dreams than failure ever could. Because the truth is, as long as you stay comfortable, you will never grow. You will never push yourself. You will never know what you are truly capable of. So why do most people fail? Because they settle. They stop trying. They give up too soon. They accept an average life when they were designed for greatness. They don't lack potential. They lack persistence. But here's the good news: failure is not permanent. It's not the end of your story unless you decide to stop writing it. If you can recognize these traps, excuses, fear, and comfort, and choose to fight them, your life will change. Success is not about being lucky. It's about being consistent. It's about showing up every single day, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when no one believes in you. And in the next part, we'll uncover the first powerful step you must take to break free from this cycle of failure, and finally move toward the success you deserve. We talked about how most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they choose excuses, fear, and comfort over growth. Now let's go deeper. If there is one silent enemy that keeps millions of people stuck in mediocrity, it is this: the habit of procrastination. Think about it. How many times have you said, "I'll start tomorrow"? How many times have you delayed a dream because the timing wasn't perfect? How many opportunities have slipped away because you were waiting for the right moment? This is where most people lose the battle. Procrastination is dangerous because it hides itself behind excuses that sound reasonable. "I'm too busy right now." "I don't have enough money." "I'll begin when I feel ready." But the truth is, you will never feel perfectly ready. And if you wait for the perfect moment, you will wait forever. Here's a hard truth: success does not come to those who wait. It comes to those who start, even when conditions aren't ideal. Every successful person you admire began their journey before they felt fully prepared. They started with what they had, where they were, and they improved along the way. The reason procrastination destroys lives is because time is the one resource you can never get back. You can lose money and earn it again. You can lose motivation and regain it. But once time is gone, it is gone forever. And the most painful regret in life is not failure, it is wasted time. So how do you break free from procrastination? The first step is to understand that action creates clarity. Most people wait to feel confident before they act, but confidence only comes through action. Start small. Write one page. Make one phone call. Learn one new thing. Once you take the first step, momentum begins to build. The second step is to destroy perfectionism. Perfectionism is the twin brother of procrastination. You keep telling yourself, "It has to be perfect before I begin." But nothing will ever be perfect. And here's the secret: done is better than perfect. You can always improve something after you start, but you cannot improve what never begins. The third step is accountability. Most people fail silently because no one is watching. But when you make your goals public, when you share your vision with someone you trust, or join a community where progress is expected, you give yourself a powerful push to keep moving forward. Accountability turns intention into action. And finally, remember this: procrastination feeds on fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of the unknown. The only way to kill that fear is through courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in spite of fear. So, if you want to escape failure, you must declare war on procrastination. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting for everything to align. Start now, start small, and let momentum carry you forward. If procrastination is the hidden enemy, then comfort zones are the silent prison. Most people fail not because they cannot achieve greatness, but because they refuse to leave the walls of safety they have built around themselves. Think about it. We live in a world where comfort is everywhere. Food is delivered at the push of a button. Entertainment is available 24/7. Air conditioning keeps us warm in the winter and cool in the summer. Everything is designed to keep us comfortable. And while that may sound nice, it is also the reason so many people remain stuck in mediocrity. Here's the harsh truth: comfort kills ambition. The more comfortable you become, the less likely you are to chase after growth, risk, or challenge. Why? Because growth is painful. Success demands discomfort. Every great achievement in history was born through struggle, sacrifice, and persistence beyond comfort. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you did something that truly scared you? Something that stretched you beyond your limits? If your answer is, "I don't remember," then you are living inside a comfort zone, and that zone is the graveyard of potential. The problem with comfort zones is that they feel safe, but in reality, they are dangerous. Because while you stay safe, time keeps moving forward. The world evolves. Opportunities pass you by. Others who dare to step out of their comfort zones race ahead, while you remain stuck in the same place year after year. Every successful person you admire, whether in business, sports, or life, has one thing in common: they embraced discomfort. They took risks. They put themselves in situations where failure was possible. And because they faced those challenges, they grew stronger, smarter, and better. Here's the secret: discomfort is the price of progress. If you want to build a strong body, you must lift heavy weights that strain your muscles. If you want to build wealth, you must take risks that could result in losses. If you want to build character, you must endure situations that test your patience, discipline, and resilience. There is no other way. So how do you break free from the comfort trap? First, you must recognize it. Notice the areas of your life where you are playing small, where you avoid risk, where you choose easy over meaningful. That's your comfort zone calling the shots. Second, deliberately put yourself in situations that stretch you. It doesn't have to be extreme. It could be as simple as waking up earlier, speaking in front of an audience, starting a side business, or learning a new skill. The key is to practice discomfort daily, to build the muscle of courage, one step at a time. And third, reframe discomfort as growth. Instead of saying, "This is hard," tell yourself, "This is making me stronger." Instead of saying, "I'm afraid," say, "I'm growing." When you change the story, discomfort becomes fuel, not fear. Many people fail because they believe success is all about luck. They see others succeed and think, "He was lucky. She had the right connections." But the truth is simple. Luck is just preparation meeting opportunity. If you are not prepared, you won't even recognize an opportunity when it comes. But if you are ready, even a small chance can completely change your life. Take an example. A student who studies daily and practices hard. When the exam comes, people call him lucky for scoring high. But was it really luck? No, it was effort. On the other side, a student who wasted time and prayed for luck ends up failing. He blames fate, but the reality is his lack of preparation. The same applies in business, sports, or life. Successful people are not just lucky. They have been preparing behind the scenes for years. What looks like luck from outside is actually hidden hard work. Here's the problem. If you believe success is about luck, you give away your power. You stop trying, and you wait for magic. But when you realize success is built, not given, you take control. You focus on your actions, discipline, and mindset. Remember this. The harder you work, the luckier you get. People will call you lucky, but you will know it was preparation all along. So stop waiting for luck. Start preparing. Because success doesn't come from chance, it comes from readiness. If there is one silent killer of dreams, it is the fear of failure. Most people never even try, not because they don't have talent, but because they are terrified of failing. They imagine what others will say, they fear embarrassment, and they convince themselves that staying safe is better than taking risks. But here's the reality. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of success. No great achievement in history came without setbacks. Every successful person you admire today has a long list of failures behind them. The difference is, they didn't stop. Think about Thomas Edison. When trying to invent the light bulb, he failed thousands of times. People mocked him, called him crazy, and even suggested he give up. But Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That mindset transformed failure into learning. And because he refused to quit, the world was forever changed. Now compare that to someone who never even tries. They avoid failure, yes, but they also avoid growth. They live a safe life, but it is an unfulfilled life. Imagine standing at the end of your life, realizing you never went after your dreams, simply because you were afraid of failing. That regret is far heavier than any temporary failure. Failure is feedback. Every time you fall, you learn something new. Every mistake teaches you what doesn't work and brings you one step closer to what does. In fact, failure is often the universe's way of preparing you for something bigger. The problem is not failing. The problem is refusing to rise again. Ask yourself, what's the worst thing that can happen if you fail? You'll be criticized? You'll feel embarrassed? You'll have to try again? These are small prices to pay for the possibility of achieving something extraordinary. But if you never try, the cost is your dream itself, and that is too big a price to pay. Here's the truth. Successful people are not fearless. They feel fear just like everyone else, but they act anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to move forward despite it. So if you want to rise above the crowd, embrace failure as a teacher, not an enemy. Every failure is a stepping stone. Every rejection is redirection. And every setback is just a setup for a greater comeback. Remember, the only true failure is giving up. As long as you keep moving, Failure cannot defeat you. It can only shape you. If motivation is the spark, then discipline is the fuel that keeps the fire alive. Many people fail in life not because they lack dreams, talent, or opportunities, but because they lack the discipline to stay consistent. Discipline means doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. And this is where most people fall short. They start with excitement, but as soon as things get hard, boring, or uncomfortable, they quit. They wait for motivation to return, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Discipline, on the other hand, is a choice you make every single day. Think about athletes. The world's best runners don't train only when they feel like it. They wake up early, run in the cold, eat the right food, and push their limits, day after day, year after year. That's not motivation, that's discipline. And discipline is what separates winners from dreamers. The same applies to business, studies, or personal growth. You can have the best ideas, the greatest plans, or the most amazing goals, but without discipline, they will never come to life. How many people start a diet but quit after a week? How many people buy books but never finish them? How many people talk about starting a business but never put in the daily effort required? This is the tragedy of undisciplined living. Here's the hard truth. Discipline is uncomfortable. Waking up early, working when you're tired, saying no to distractions. It's not easy. But so is regret. Regret of not chasing your dream, regret of wasting your potential, regret of being average. Between the pain of discipline and the pain of regret, discipline will always be lighter. Remember, every small action compounds. If you commit to just 1 hour of focused work daily, that's 365 hours in a year. That's how books are written, businesses are built, bodies are transformed, and lives are changed, not through giant leaps, but through consistent steps. So, don't wait for the perfect mood, the perfect time, or endless motivation. Train yourself to act, regardless of how you feel. Discipline is freedom. When you control your actions, you control your results. The world doesn't reward people who start, it rewards those who finish. And finishing requires discipline. One of the biggest reasons most people never achieve their true potential is because they are paralyzed by fear of failure. They don't take risks, they don't start, they don't even try, because the thought of failing stops them before they even begin. But here's the irony. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's the path to success. Every successful person you admire has failed, not once, but many times. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. Imagine if he had quit after the first 100 failures. Today, we might still be sitting in the dark. The truth is, fear of failure is simply fear of judgment. People worry about what others will say if they fail. But let's be honest, people will talk anyway. If you succeed, they will envy you. If you fail, they will mock you. Either way, you cannot live your life based on the opinions of others. The only voice that truly matters is your own. Failure is feedback. It teaches you what doesn't work so you can find what does. Every failure brings you one step closer to success, but only if you have the courage to keep going. If you let fear stop you, you'll never know what you're capable of. And that is far worse than failure itself. Think about this. A child learning to walk falls dozens of times. But does the child quit? No. They keep trying until they succeed. Why? Because they don't yet know how to be embarrassed by failure. As adults, we forget this lesson. We protect our ego instead of pursuing our goals. So here's the challenge. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" start asking, "What if I never try?" Because failing is temporary, but regret is permanent. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting despite the fear. Take the leap, even if you're scared. The more you face failure, the less power it has over you. And one day, you'll realize that failure wasn't your enemy, it was your greatest teacher. Remember, the only true failure is never starting at all. One of the silent killers of dreams is not failure, not lack of talent, but the comfort zone. It feels safe. It feels easy. It feels familiar. And that's exactly why it's so dangerous. When you live inside your comfort zone, nothing changes. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and months into years, and you're still in the same place. You might not be suffering, but you're not growing either. And without growth, there is no success. The comfort zone is like quicksand. It doesn't hurt you immediately, but slowly, it pulls you down until you realize you've wasted years standing still. Most people don't fail because they try and fall. They fail because they never try at all. Think about this. Every great achievement in history happened because someone stepped outside their comfort zone. Explorers crossed oceans. Entrepreneurs risked everything. Leaders faced criticism. None of them felt ready. They acted despite the uncertainty. Here's the truth. Growth begins where comfort ends. You cannot build strength without resistance. You cannot learn without challenge. And you cannot reach your potential without discomfort. That fear you feel when you try something new? That's not a signal to stop. It's a sign that you're growing. The comfort zone whispers, "Stay safe. Don't risk it. Don't change." But that's the same voice that will trap you in an ordinary life. And deep down, you don't want ordinary. You want extraordinary. So how do you escape? Start small. Take one step each day that scares you just a little. Make that call. Speak up. Learn that skill. Launch that project. Each step will expand your comfort zone until the impossible becomes possible. Remember this. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. The more comfortable you are, the less alive you feel. But the moment you step into the unknown, yes, it's scary, but it's also where the magic happens. Your comfort zone is your cage. Freedom lives outside it. If there is one silent killer of success that almost nobody talks about, it's lack of consistency. People start with passion. They begin with excitement. They say, "This time I'm going all the way." And for the first week, they work hard. For the first month, they show up. But then, the energy fades, motivation dies, and they quit. This is the reason most people fail. They think success is built on massive effort in short bursts. But the truth? Success is built on small, consistent actions repeated over time. Think about it. The gym doesn't work if you go for 1 week and stop. Learning a skill doesn't happen in a single weekend. Building wealth, relationships, health, none of these happen overnight. They demand patience. They demand discipline. And above all, they demand consistency. Consistency is boring. It doesn't give you instant rewards. That's why so many people abandon it. But that's also why the few who stay consistent rise above everyone else. Remember this. Motivation gets you started, but consistency keeps you going. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do everything at once. You just have to keep showing up. Even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it. Most people fail because they underestimate the power of compound growth. One workout feels useless. 1 hour of reading feels small. $1 saved feels pointless. But over time, these tiny efforts build unstoppable momentum. And suddenly, the person who simply stayed consistent becomes unstoppable. Success is not about intensity. It's about persistence. Champions aren't the ones who train the hardest once. They're the ones who train every single day. Writers don't finish books by writing all night. They finish by writing a little every day. Leaders aren't born from one speech. They're shaped by showing up, again and again. So ask yourself, are you consistent? Or are you just motivated? Because motivation fades. Consistency builds legacies. The difference between those who dream and those who achieve is not talent, not luck, but discipline and consistency. In the end, greatness belongs to those who don't stop. We've talked about fear, procrastination, excuses, lack of clarity, giving up too early, ignoring learning, chasing shortcuts, avoiding hard work, and lack of consistency. But now, it's time for the final truth, the secret that separates those who stay average from those who rise above everything. That secret is this: successful people don't avoid failure, they transform it. Most people fail and stop. They treat failure as the end. They say, "This wasn't meant for me. I'm not good enough. I'll never make it." And with those words, they bury their dreams. But the people who succeed, the people who break limits, they see failure differently. For them, failure is not a dead end. It's a signal. It's feedback. It's a teacher. Every mistake points them closer to the right path. Every rejection shapes their strength. Every setback builds their resilience. Think about it. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before creating the light bulb. Imagine if he had quit after the first 100 failures? Today, we'd still be living in darkness. Greatness is never born in comfort. It is forged in the fire of failure. That fire either burns you down, or it forges you into steel. Here's the ultimate truth: failure only destroys you if you stop. If you keep going, if you learn, if you adapt, failure becomes fuel. Every failure brings you one step closer to mastery. Every fall teaches you how to rise stronger. Every no you hear pushes you closer to your yes. The final reason most people fail is not failure itself. It's their relationship with failure. They fear it, they run from it, they surrender to it. But you don't have to. You can choose to see failure as the path, not the end. So as this journey closes, remember: backhand index pointing right, don't fear failure. Backhand index pointing right, don't run from mistakes. Backhand index pointing right, don't stop when it gets hard. Because the ones who win in life are not those who never fail, but those who refuse to quit. Your story is not over. Your dreams are not dead. The only way you truly fail is if you give up. So rise again and again. Fail forward. Turn every setback into strength. And build the life most people only dream about. That is how you avoid the mistakes of the majority. That is how you create your own destiny. That is how you win.